My name is Lorraine Hayes. I am 66 years old, a retired librarian from Plainfield, Illinois, and until that fateful Tuesday afternoon, I believed I had already endured the worst life could offer. 8 years ago, I lost my husband, Thomas, to a sudden heart attack. He collapsed in our kitchen one ordinary morning, his coffee cup shattering on the tile floor as I screamed for help that came too late. The loneliness that followed was a relentless companion. The silence of a house built for two, the empty chair at the dinner table, the bed that felt vast and cold. I navigated widowhood with quiet determination, filling my days with books from the local library where I'd worked for 3 decades, tending my rose garden, and volunteering at the community center. I thought I understood grief, had made peace with it. But I was profoundly wrong. The day began unremarkably in Plainfield, a modest suburb southwest of Chicago where life moved at a predictable pace. I brewed my afternoon tea at precisely 3 o'clock, as was my ritual, using the same china cup Thomas had given me on our 20th anniversary. I placed it on the small oak table by the bay window, overlooking the backyard where my roses bloomed in defiant pinks and reds despite the humid air. Outside, the sky hung heavy, a slate-gray blanket pressing down, as if the atmosphere itself was burdened. The local radio station droned in the background, mentioning a storm system tracking northeast from the plains. In Illinois, we're accustomed to such warnings: thunderstorms, high winds, the occasional hail. We watch the horizon, but panic is rare. It's part of the Midwestern resilience. At 3:15, the siren pierced the air, a long, wailing cry that vibrated through my bones, the kind that demands immediate action. The radio announcer's voice turned urgent: tornado warning for Will County. A funnel cloud has been spotted on the ground, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. Plainfield residents, take shelter immediately. This is not a drill. My heart lurched. I had lived through storms before, but this felt different. The air too still, the pressure too intense. Hands trembling, I rushed through the house, grabbing what I could in a frantic haze. Into a small suitcase went our wedding album from 1976, where Thomas and I smiled under a canopy of spring blossoms, young and full of promise. I added his cherished wristwatch, the one he'd worn every day for 30 years, its face scratched from years of carpentry work. My mother's hand-sewn quilt, faded but soft with memories, and a folder stuffed with insurance papers and important documents. 40 years of marriage, of building a life, reduced to these meager items. I clutched Thomas's old wool sweater to my chest. It still carried a faint trace of his cologne, and descended into the basement. The space was dim and musty, lined with shelves of canned goods and old photo boxes. I huddled in the corner, knees drawn up, praying silently as the house above groaned under the assault. The wind howled, building to a deafening roar like a freight train barreling through my living room. Glass shattered somewhere upstairs, wood splintered, and the ground itself trembled. I pressed my face into the sweater, whispering Thomas's name like a talisman. The fury lasted only minutes, but it felt eternal. Then, abruptly, silence. Not the peaceful kind, but a hollow, eerie void, as if the world had been erased. When I finally mustered the courage to push open the basement door, the sight stole my breath. My kitchen, my sanctuary of morning coffees and family dinners, was obliterated. The table was gone, the roof torn away, exposing a bruised, swirling sky. Debris, shards of glass, twisted metal, uprooted plants, littered what remained of the floor. My rose garden, meticulously tended for 2 decades, was reduced to shredded stems and scattered petals, muddied and trampled. The air smelled of wet earth and destruction. Neighbors emerged from their own damaged homes, calling out in dazed voices, but their faces mirrored my shock, their roofs sagging, cars flipped like toys. I collapsed to my knees amid the ruins, sobbing for the first time since Thomas's funeral. My body shook with the force of it, grief compounding upon grief. The Red Cross arrived soon after, setting up shelters in the high school gymnasium, offering cots and blankets. But the thought of sleeping in a crowded room, surrounded by strangers' whispers and the echo of loss, filled me with dread. I needed family, the one anchor I had left. Borrowing a neighbor's phone, mine lost in the wreckage, I dialed my son Michael's number. "Son, it's Mom," I whispered, voice breaking. "My house, it's gone. The tornado took everything." The next morning, I drove north on Interstate 55 toward Chicago, my old sedan rattling with every gust of lingering wind. The sky had cleared to a mocking blue, as if nature had already forgotten its rage. My suitcase and 3 trash bags of salvaged belongings, clothes, a few books, scattered mementos, were crammed in the back seat, the car reeking of damp plaster and mud. I told myself this was temporary, a brief stay until the insurance claim processed, until I could rebuild or find a modest apartment. Michael, my only child, lived in River North, in one of those sleek glass towers that symbolized success but felt impersonal. As I pulled up, the doorman eyed my battered vehicle and the bulging bags with undisguised skepticism, handing me a visitor badge as if I were a solicitor rather than family. Michael opened the door before I could knock, his face a mask of concern. For a fleeting moment, my heart lifted. He had Thomas's blue eyes, the same ones that had once sparkled with boyish mischief. "Mom," he said, stepping aside, his tone careful, almost rehearsed. The apartment was a study in modern minimalism. White leather furniture, polished hardwood floors, abstract art that screamed expense but lacked soul. Then Tessa appeared, his wife of 5 years, 32, with a sleek ponytail and a silk blouse that likely cost more than my monthly pension. She smiled, but her eyes were cool, appraising. "Lorraine, how awful about your house," she said, her gaze darting to my trash bags on the floor, as if they offended the pristine space. I perched on the edge of their immaculate sofa, afraid to leave a mark. "It's just temporary," I explained hastily, "until the insurance comes through. I can help with meals, laundry. I'll stay out of your way." Michael sat in the armchair opposite me, not beside me, folding his hands like a businessman. "The thing is, Mom," he began, "Tessa and I have been talking. We value our privacy here. This is our sanctuary." Privacy. The word stung like a slap. "Michael, I lost everything yesterday. I don't need space, I need family." Tessa leaned forward, her voice patronizingly gentle. "We think you'd be more comfortable elsewhere. There are excellent extended-stay hotels near the Magnificent Mile, safe, clean, with kitchenettes." My chest constricted. "And how do I pay for that? Insurance won't arrive for weeks." Michael shifted uncomfortably. "I can give you a few hundred to start." A few hundred, as if I were a beggar, not the woman who raised him. I stood, knees trembling, dignity in tatters. "So that's it? Your mother doesn't belong in your sanctuary." Silence answered me, louder than any storm. I gathered my bags and left, driving into the night with a heart heavier than the debris I'd left behind. The Chicago skyline glittered like a fortress, its lights a barrier keeping me out. I parked first near Lower Wacker Drive, that shadowy underbelly where trucks rumbled and echoes amplified every fear. It was hidden enough to avoid notice. That first night, I curled in the driver's seat, Thomas's sweater as a blanket, my neck cramping, legs numb. Every slam of a door, every footstep, jolted me awake. I nibbled stale crackers from my purse, sipping rusty water, convincing myself Michael would call, apologize. But he didn't. The second night brought damp cold. I relocated to a Walmart lot in Cicero, blending among overnight semis. I washed in the harsh-lit bathroom, avoiding the mirror's hollow-eyed stranger. By the third night, back pain stabbed like knives, tears flowing unchecked. I muffled sobs, clutching the sweater. Memories of Michael as a child, clutching my hand, begging for stories, clashed with the man who'd rejected me. Rummaging through my purse, I found a faded business card, Adrien Cole. My first love, the boy who'd promised a life beyond Plainfield before college pulled him away. We'd lost touch, but the card endured. Tracing the digits, I wondered if it connected to anything. Loneliness 1, I dialed. The voice answered, Cole Development. Adrien speaking. After 50 years, it was unmistakable. Adrien, it's Lorraine Hayes, used to be Carter. Silence, then. Lorraine. The dam broke, I poured out my story. Where are you? Walmart lot off Cicero. Stay there. I'm coming. You don't have to. I've waited 50 years for this call. Let me. 2 hours later, a silver SUV arrived. Adrien emerged, silver hair, broad shoulders, storm-gray eyes unchanged. He tapped my window, smiled. Hello, Lorraine. Tears came. He helped me out, embracing me. Come home. Let me take care of you. The drive to Lakeview felt transformative. His stone house was dignified, with wide windows and a welcoming porch. Inside, hardwood floors and bookshelves exuded warmth. Photos showed his redevelopment work, communities rebuilt. Started after a flood in '85, he said. Always about helping find home. We ate grilled chicken. He called me beautiful. Stay as long as you need. This house has been waiting. Days became weeks. Mornings, porch coffee. Afternoons, library reading. Evenings, my cooking, his gratitude. When he asked about permanence, my heart fluttered. Then Michael's call, Where are you? With a friend. Suspicion laced his voice. He and Tessa visited, probing Adrien's business. Adrien saw through it. Later, I know what he wants. We need clarity. They returned for dinner, dressed sharply. Adrien confronted, You turned her away. Now you want what she might inherit? That's opportunism, not love. They stormed out. A land trust email revealed Adrien's firm rebuilding Plainfield, prioritizing displaced like me. Didn't want pity, he said. Honoring families. 6 months later, our backyard wedding. Simple, intimate. Vows exchanged. Adrien kissed me reverently. Michael attended, later apologizing. I forgive you, I said, but love me as your mother. That night, on the porch, the tornado stripped illusions, showed Michael's truth, brought me to you. Destruction cleared for new foundations. At 66, you're never too old to rebuild, never too broken for love. What lesson do you take? What city are you watching from?